there, I'm Lindsay from Goodnight Nursery Sleep Consulting, and today I'm here to talk to you about why your baby sleeps better when they are swaddled. So if you think about your baby's first 40 weeks of life or the first 9 months while your baby was in your tummy, what was the environment like during that time? It was very warm, very dark and cozy, and your baby was very tightly held together and very, very cozy and all crunched up. And then what happens when you give birth is suddenly your baby is thrust into the world and it's very open and bright and their limbs are all splayed apart, and it feels very different from the very tight, cozy, warm environment that they were used to for the first 9 months. So it's a very startling difference for your child, and so it makes sense that they really still enjoy the comfort of being all tightly bound together and wound up, having their limbs really tightly wound together and being all nice and warm and cozy in that way. Another way to look at it is there's something called the Moro Reflex or the startle reflex in infants. And what that is all of a sudden you'll see a baby sitting there and then suddenly they will throw their arms out and arch their back and throw their legs out. And that's called their Moro Reflex. And so that happens when they are exposed to different unknown stimuli. They suddenly have that reflex, and that's one of the big reasons that their sleep can be interrupted during naps or in the middle of the night. And that's why when you swaddle a baby, they tend to sleep deeper and sleep longer because they're not having that startling reflex that's jolting themselves awake. It's really cute. We all love to kind of take our babies and put them in a nice little blanket and wrap them up and make them look like a little burrito. It's very adorable. And initially, a baby might sleep really well wrapped up into a nice little tight blanket. But one of the things that happens when you wrap your baby in a blanket for a swaddle is slowly they kind of get a hand out, you get one, and then they get another one, and then they kind of loosen up their blanket, and then suddenly, oh, they startle themselves awake again and they've got their blanket kind of all opened up. So swaddling your baby with a blanket isn't necessarily the most efficient or the safest way to swaddle them, because for SIDS recommendations, one of the things that they say is if you want your baby to be safe while sleeping, you don't want to have any loose blankets in their sleep space. And so your swaddling blanket can get loose over time and become a hazard. So a safer way to swaddle your baby while they're sleeping is to actually get one of those sleep sacks where you can lay them in it, zip them up, put their arms across, and then there's usually like a nice Velcro piece that you could attach across their arms to tie their arms down with. And that will keep them safely swaddled in their sleep space, and usually it's much more secure and they don't get out of it as easily. Babies are safe to be swaddled for about the first 4 months of life, because after that time they kind of start to roll over, and as soon as your baby's rolling over, it's no longer safe to have their arms tied down in a swaddle. So at that point you want to make sure that their arms are free, and if you do have a sleep sack that they're using, usually there's a one of the options where you can have their arms free and you can just kind of tie that sash down around their waist. And if you find, like I used to with my daughter, that she would kind of fight the swaddle when she was little and I would first put her into it when we were kind of getting her ready to sleep. I used to call it the last struggle before sleep or the last cry before sleep, because I would get her all nicely swaddled up and it was time to go to sleep and she would just kind of really just kind of fight it and try to get out of it. But one thing that we do recommend is that you still keep them in the swaddle when they're that age. Just kind of distract them a little bit, take their mind off the fact that they're kind of all nice and tightly tied in there, because as soon as they start to fall asleep, they're going to get over that, and it really does help to keep them sleep much longer if they're in that swaddled sleep sack rather than having their arms free. Okay, so that's all for today about swaddling your baby. Please check back later for more videos about sleep and parenting. Thanks for watching.